Hi, I'm Mary Kay. Welcome to this week's segment of Ask the Expert. One of the things that I deal with on a daily basis are people wanting fragrant flowers for their garden, and that is my love. I absolutely love fragrant flowers. I have them planted all over my yard. I can definitely steer you in the right direction. We're going to start today with the Confederate Star Jasmine. This plant behind me, it blooms from May to June. It may seem like a short bloom, but it is so intense and such a lovely fragrance that you will never regret planting this plant. One thing to remember when you're planting in your yard, since our summer winds are out of the south-southwest, if you plant it on a south-southwest fence, the winds and breezes will bring the fragrance into your area. I have my patio on the north side of my fence, so I plant everything along there, and even as I'm mowing my lawn, I can smell some of the prettiest fragrances, which brings me to this plant. This is called a Almond Verbena. Here's its little flower right here. It is the most fragrant, oh my goodness. It is related to, if you know this area around Marble Falls, Texas, there is a bee brush that grows about this tall, has white flowers, and it's related to that, but boy is it fragrant. It is one of the most fragrant ones. It usually dies back to the ground every year, but some years it would stay evergreen, especially if it's in a protected backyard, like on the southwest side of the property. Mine has gotten up to 12 feet before. You can keep them pruned back, or you can just let them go. I would say even if it didn't die back to the ground, go ahead and cut it back, because it's going to come up a lot fuller and with more blooms for you. We have another relative of the aloysia. This is called Lemon Verbena. And this, every time I walk by this in my garden, I have to smell it. It is the most wonderful fragrance. And this will get to be about a 4 foot by 4 foot perennial. It dies back to the ground in the winter. It's a little bit tender, but if you have it well established going into the winter and it's on the south, southwest, southeast side of your house to get some protection from the northwest winds, it will come back fairly regularly. Again, it has another white flower. You can't walk by this without touching it. It's just so good. And on another herb front, and this one, the lemon verbena can be used as an herb to cook chicken or fish. Very flavorful. This is a little plant. It's called a curry plant. Now, it's not the curry that you think of as a spice. That is a mixture of spices. You do not eat this plant. It is strictly grown for its deer resistance, which is good. And it's very, very fragrant. It smells like curry, like nobody's business. When you have it planted on the ground, it gets about a foot by about 2 or 3 feet around. If you just walk by it, you'll get this wonderful scent. It'll make you hungry. So that's a beautiful one. Here is one of my all-time favorites because it's a dappled shade bloomer. It's called Heliotrope. The flowers smell like vanilla. And this is a very easy to grow flower. I've had it last in mild winters from year to year. This year the freeze got it in my yard, but it had gotten probably about 2 or 3 feet around and a foot and a half tall and mounding, and just blooms all summer. Butterflies like it too. Another one on the herb front that I'm sure everybody's familiar with is we call it the mosquito plant. It's actually a scented geranium called citronella geranium. If you were to rub the oils on your hand, rub them on your arms, it probably would keep the mosquitoes away. I don't know whether planting these in the yard is going to keep them away from you, because they don't like the plant, but that doesn't mean they're not going to get on you. But it's a very fragrant plant to have in the garden. Rosemary is another one that we can plant. Everybody knows when you walk by rosemary, you just get this wonderful smell. I like to put it by the front door because it's a very welcoming scent, and it will just wake up your senses as you're walking in the door. Then I have some more unusual fragrant ones that you may or may not be familiar with. This is a night blooming jasmine. And I remember when I first saw this plant, I looked at these little green flowers. I thought, what is that going to do? Oh my gosh. I planted some in pots before, and I've planted them in beds because they're not particularly winter hardy. Very worth planting. I planted them in a protected spot, and mine are coming back this year. Intoxicating. And just intoxicating. They'll get about this tall, about 4 feet tall. And just at night, when the sun starts to go down, you smell these and you don't want to move. They just stop you in your tracks. There's just only at night. That's the only time you smell their scent. They're very many of the flowers that have a scent at night, you've heard of 4 o'clocks before. They open in the afternoon and have a scent at night. Another one, I'm going to move over here, that has a night scent is this wonderful Brugmansia. Brugmansia is, a lot of people call it Datura, but it's not a Datura. It is a tropical angel's trumpet. And I've grown this in pots, and I remember one year I had a 30-gallon pot. The plant was huge, and I had over 100 blooms hanging from it. These angel's trumpets coming down. It comes in this lovely orange color. Again, the scent is smelled more at night. It comes in a white, a yellow, and a color changer that kind of starts out a lighter color, and then like a yellow and turns to orange. Very beautiful plant. One of my very favorite plants in the world. I can't live without this plant in the summer. This is my other. I just can't live without this plant. This is called Sambac Jasmine or Arabian Jasmine. I knocked the flowers off of it, getting it over here, but it has little white flowers. Now I have deer, so I put mine in a hanging basket, and it does quite well that way. If you don't have a deer, and you can put it in a pot with a trellis behind it, it's kind of a viney shrub, and you can work its way up there. Now this one, unlike the Confederate star jasmine, will bloom all summer. This is a true jasmine. Confederate jasmine is not a true jasmine. It's a Trachelospermum, so they're not really related, but they both have very fragrant flowers. The next one, let me pull from behind here. This is Miss Molly. Miss Molly butterfly bush is a dwarf butterfly bush, and I'm telling you, oh, such sweet odors. It's just the most fragrant, sweet smell. This one just gets about 3 feet tall, and all summer long it will have these beautiful, beautiful, rich colored blooms. The butterflies do love them, and so do the hummingbirds. And so do I. And let's see, last but not least, we have Fragrant Roses. This one's called Belinda's Dream, and Belinda's Dream's an old rose, antique rose. Has a wonderful fragrance, and there's many fragrant roses out there. So I hope that you've learned some ways to bring fragrance into your garden. And, oh, we skipped the gardenia. Here's our beautiful gardenia. Right now it just has big plump buds on it. They'll be opening very soon, and we'll have the wonderful gardenia blooms. Now I keep my gardenias in pots. They like acid soil, so be sure and add peat moss to it. Put it in partial shade, maybe morning sun for a few hours, and then dapple through trees the rest of the day. You do need to protect it from freezing temperatures. If you get the August Beauty variety, they will bloom all summer for you, off and on. I hope you've enjoyed this week's segment of Ask the Expert, and you'll come see us for some of your fragrant plants. For Backbone Valley Nursery, this is Mary Kay. See you next week.